SpaceX's trillion-dollar IPO, Google's new always-on AI agent, a Trump executive order on AI that was supposed to be signed and wasn't, and 3,000 layoffs at Intuit from yet another tech CEO who swears it isn't about AI. Taken together, they tell you something about where the leverage actually is right now, and who's holding it. I'm Matt, and this is Camping and Coding. Let's start with the headline number because it's a number you don't get to use very often. $1.75 trillion. That's the implied valuation in the S1 SpaceX filed on May 20th. The raise is up to $75 billion, with pricing expected June 11th and trading on June 12th. If it comes in anywhere near the range that Goldman, Morgan Stanley, B of A, Citi, and JP Morgan are expecting, it will be the largest IPO in history by a wide margin. Saudi Aramco's debut, which has held the record since 2019, raised about $29 billion. SpaceX is targeting more than twice that. Now, before anyone uncorks their champagne, read the actual filing. The S1 is the first time SpaceX has shown its books to the public, and the books are interesting. Revenue was around $18.5 billion in 2025, which is real money. Starlink alone has 9 million paying subscribers, which is the cash cow, but Q1 2026 net losses were $4.9 billion, which roughly equals all of 2025's losses combined, and the accumulated deficit sits at $41.3 billion. SpaceX is actually three products in a trench coat: Starlink satellites, Falcon rockets, and Starship reusable launch vehicles and speculative data centers in space. The IPO is asking the public market investors to fund the third leg. The price tag is a referendum on Starship execution and on whether you believe the orbital compute is a real category, and Elon Musk retains 85% voting control either way. On Monday, Google announced Gemini Spark. The pitch is that Spark is not just a chatbot you open, but instead it runs on a dedicated cloud VM 24 hours a day, with its own Gmail address, and you email it just like a colleague. It pulls context from your Gmail, your docs, and your calendar, your sheets, and eventually third-party apps and local files. It executes multi-step tasks in the background while your laptop is closed. It's built on Gemini 3.5 and runs the anti-gravity agent harness. Beta access is currently gated behind the AI Ultra plan at $100 a month. The technical architecture is interesting, but the strategic move is even more so. Every frontier lab is racing toward the same destination, which is agents that take actions instead of just giving answers. The product surface is converging with Anthropic, Cowork, OpenAI Agent, and Microsoft Copilot. What Google has that others don't is the massive distribution. Everyone already uses Gmail, Chrome, Docs, and all the rest, so they don't need to adopt anything new to get this new capability. Google isn't claiming its model is better or that anti-gravity is better. The claim is that distribution beats model quality once the models are all roughly comparable, and that the connective tissue into the user's actual life is what really matters. This might be right or not. But notice what the bet implies, which is that we are past the era where the best model wins and into the era where the best integrated agent wins. If that's true, it has consequences for every company in the space, including labs you might assume are insulated or invincible. Thursday afternoon, President Trump was scheduled to sign an executive order which he wound up tabling. The draft, according to reporting from NBC, CNN, and Axios, would have set up a voluntary process for frontier AI labs to share advanced models with the federal government and harden cybersecurity at the Pentagon and other agencies, expanded cybersecurity, and pushed AI defensive tools out to utilities and rural hospitals. Trump's stated reason for pulling it, more or less verbatim, was that we're leading China, we're leading everybody, and he didn't want to do anything that would get in the way of that. Now, here's the part that matters, and I want to be careful with it. The trigger for that order had a name. Less than 2 months ago, Anthropic's Mythos model, which was not released publicly and is available only through vetted programs called Project Glasswing, demonstrated that it could autonomously discover thousands of severe critical cyber vulnerabilities, including in major operating systems and web browsers. Treasury Secretary Bessent and Fed Chair Powell convened an emergency meeting with Wall Street CEOs in April specifically to warn them about it. Two things can be true at once here. The first is that a voluntary review process risks slowing down American labs in a race where the other competitor is the PRC, and that race has real national security stakes. The second is that the order existed in draft form because the executive branch concluded that some of the models in the pipeline are genuinely dangerous enough to warrant a look before they reach the public. What we have now is neither. We have no executive order, no formal review process, and the only thing standing between the public and the next Mythos-class model is whatever the labs decide to do. Anthropic chose restraint with Mythos, which sort of worked. But it's a thin thread to hang national cyber posture on, and it depends entirely on the goodwill of profit-motivated companies, which historically is not a great approach. I don't know the right answer here. I'm not sure anyone does, but the absence of a policy is itself a policy. Finally, on Tuesday, Intuit told 3,000 employees, or 17% of its global workforce, that they were being laid off. Intuit is the parent company of brands like TurboTax, QuickBooks, and Credit Karma. Their stock dropped 13%, and the company will eat more than $300 million in charges. The CEO's internal memo described the cuts as, quote, reducing complexity and, quote, simplifying the structure, end quote, so the company can sharpen focus on a smaller set of priorities. The company is rebuilding its products around AI-native workflows. They are eliminating roles made redundant by TurboTax and Credit Karma integrations with Anthropic and OpenAI, pulling back on MailChimp, and closing offices in Nevada, California. As an aside, the CEO's 2025 compensation was $36.8 million, and so far there's no word on whether leadership is taking a pay cut. My guess is no. Across the tech sector this year, more than 111,000 people have been laid off at 147 companies. The CEOs almost uniformly cite efficiency. The press releases almost uniformly avoid the word AI, while the next paragraph describes an AI-driven restructuring. I am not making a normative claim about whether these layoffs are right or wrong. Markets restructure and companies adapt to new technology. That has always been true. What I am asking, and what I think you should ask too, is that the people doing the restructuring use precise language about what they are doing and why they are doing it. So, we have a rocket company asking the public to fund a future that has not been built yet, a search company betting that distribution beats model quality, a White House deciding that the cost of a voluntary review process is higher than the cost of no process at all, and a tax software company laying off 3,000 people while declining to say the word that explains why. What ties them together isn't AI exactly. It's leverage. Who has it, who is acquiring it, who is choosing not to use it, and who is on the wrong end of it. The honest answer to most of these stories is that we won't know for a while. SpaceX could crush it, or it could be the most expensive lesson in concentrated bet investing in a generation. Spark could eat the agent market, or it could get outshipped by a faster competitor or a better model. The absence of the EO could prove prudent, or it could look catastrophic in retrospect. Intuit's bet on a leaner AI native company could pay off, or it could be remembered as a panic move toward a not yet tested strategy. I don't have those answers, and neither does anyone on TV pretending that they do. What we can and should do is think about these things deeply and try to have conversations around them. That's the only way we stand a chance of moving forward in a way that doesn't make everything worse. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.